Today we're talking to a military vet who teaches other military vets on how to get fit after coming out of service and changed his own life by doing so.
I went from broke, doing 200K months in my business. So it's like, I've never been afraid to just put it back in myself.
In this episode, we got extremely tactical and talked about one of the main sales techniques that has allowed him and his team to grow so quickly.
So we get like the financial objection a lot. We learn how to do like a really proper open wallet, which a lot of sales reps do not know how to do. But when you do the open wallet properly, it's like magic.
How would you describe like open wallet?
Yeah, so open wallet is basically...
So really what I like to do, the way that I like to start these out is just, give a kind of a understanding, what is your offer and what is your price point and like, who's your ideal client?
Yeah, for sure. So I've been in the fitness industry for about 15 years now. My offer is online coaching, fitness coaching with military veterans. That's kind of our main avatar. We do work with like other, like first responders, firefighters, cops, all that good stuff. So yeah, that's basically my background and like what I've been, or like what my offer is. So it's 3,500 for 16 weeks of coaching with us, and then if you want to do 26 weeks, it's 5,500.
Nice. So I guess just kind of going back, so you've been doing the online stuff for 15 years is what, or you just been in the space for 15
Yeah,
years?
in the space for 15 years. I owned a gym in my hometown for 9 years, and then COVID happened and we kind of started dipping our toes online, and found it to be way more profitable, help the clients way more. What I thought, obviously, because like when I was in the gym, it's like you see people come in after, a year, they kind of look the same, and it's like, you didn't have much control over what they're actually
Yeah.
doing on the outside. So yeah, with the online stuff, it's like, man, you got to be able to like help them with their macros or calories, see what foods they're eating, just a way more dialed in system versus just like showing up to the gym.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because I think, even just in this conversation, there's like multiple like audiences that we can kind of talk to in the sense of like, the first thing that comes to mind is like personal trainers or gyms that are trying to make the transition online. Like, during
Yeah.
COVID, it was like they were kind of forced to do that, which I think is,
Mhm.
a good thing because it forced a lot of people into doing what was inevitable anyway.
Yeah.
So what would you maybe say to like a fitness coach that's like on the fence of like, hey, like I know I need to like venture more online. Do you think all fitness coaches need to go online, or like what's that like thought process when you talk to maybe other coaches of like, should I go online?
Yeah, I think there's aspects of both. So like if you like love being in the gym, like that's cool. That wasn't really me. I got burnt out after a while. So but like either way, like if you need to be able to track what people are doing outside of the gym, whether you're a personal trainer or like you want to come online, like that's a big thing that online gives you, is being able to track like what's going on in their normal everyday lives, and just having
Mm,
systems and processes around that. I've seen trainers kind of trying to do that, but I just don't think, like, the problem with personal trainers is like that's your main business, right? But when you go online, like now this becomes your main business and that's where your focus is. So if it's like you're just a personal trainer kind of trying to do some of this online stuff, it doesn't really work, right? Like we know like
mm.
focus is key, right? So like focus on that one thing. So like if you want to just be a personal trainer and like kind of come into the online space, like you really need to have a good system about that, to like, hey, this is my process, this is exactly what you're doing. Every single client's the same. It's not kind of like, yeah, if you want some online stuff, we can do that. It's like literally like this is it. And then obviously if you're online, like this is what we're doing, right? So I would highly recommend going to the online space, right? If you have some want there, you're going to make more money. You're going to be more fulfilled, I think, just because you're going to be able to help people with like the root cause of things, which is, 90% is nutrition. So it's like, yeah,
Mm.
you can have people come in and see you 3 times a week. And it's like, unless you're like really dialed in on the outside, like that, they're just not going to see much results.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm finding that right now. I have a personal trainer, and luckily he's like really dialed in with me on like the nutrition side. Because I mean, I think,
Yeah.
and the thing is too, and you probably have noticed this, is like we all know like how to lose weight, right? It's like you move more and you eat less, or eat
Yeah.
within a certain amount. So it's
Right.
like I think it's just having that accountability has definitely helped. Um, but there was a point I was gonna say. Oh, so for you making that transition into the online, did you ever find any like challenges that you faced during that process, or just like maybe just walk through how you made that transition from in person into to online.
Yeah, I think for me, like when I first started online, I was like, okay, who can I hit up that's actually like come to my gym before that? Maybe they graduated to bigger and better things, or they might have moved, something like that. So I just started hitting all of those people up. I obviously had like really good contacts with those people. I didn't really mess with my gym members too much because it's like they kind of came in on this one thing. I didn't want to try to like, hey, we're gonna switch and do this whole other thing. If there was some interest, I did somewhat of a hybrid.
Mm.
But when I like went like was like fully online, it was like I just started hitting up people in my local market, started sending messages there and got a good clientele. And then as I went forward, then I had to really have to figure out like the marketing and things like that, the sales side, making sure. But that's another reason I really love online too, because the market cap is way bigger than like your 7 mile radius of your gym. So it's unlimited at that point, right? Because it's like I come from a town of like a quarter million people.
Mm.
So like it's like once you're there for 10 years, it's like you've kind of gone through the population that's gonna come see
Yeah.
you. Like there'll still always be more people, but it's just like, man, it's like and then it's hard, like, you lose people, like you're inevitably gonna lose people in fitness. So it's like you kind of like just gotta keep bringing new people. And then when you're limited on, people that can come to you, it makes it tougher.
Hmm. I think even talking to my personal trainer and just like I've talked to a lot of fitness people that kind of have a misconception, or maybe yeah, misconception that like, oh, I can't, or I want to do it more in person because I feel like it can help them more. And they like just can't get past that hump of
Mm.
I want to have that personal connection. Like what would you say to those people?
Yeah, and that's really hard too, because I was the same way when I thought that. And I still get like even my sales reps, I have to like drill in like the
Mm,
way that like because they get that objection all the time. Well, it's not in person. It's not going to work. And it's like for me, it really just comes down to that 90-10 split, right? It's like, are
mm,
you really going to, spend your focus on the 10% of results that's going to be in the gym for these people, right? So it's like that's one objection handle we use on the sales call. It's like, do you want to pay for 10% of results or do you want to pay for the 90%? Right.
mm,
So yeah, if you look at that, like, yeah, and you know, you do lose a little bit of the interaction with like you can't go out and touch somebody, right? But you still got Zoom calls. You still got like we do voice memos every single day to our clients. They're sending in scale pics, they're sending in their food, they're saying it's just way more in depth than you can do in a gym, right? So that's literally like the only upside to a gym is just like you can see them in person, but it's like if they're not getting results, like what does it matter if I'm looking you in the eyes, like in person? You know
mm,
what I'm saying? It's like you're not getting the results or you are. So it's like the method doesn't matter. It's like the result that matters.
mm. I feel like too, because I've done like a lot of like online programs as well, and I've realized a lot of like good online programs, right? Like they have a lot, like even more like accountability or more touch points because they have to like
Yeah.
almost overcompensate for it. So I don't know if you do you
Yeah.
guys use any apps or like anything where you're
Yeah.
tracking that stuff?
Oh yeah, for sure. We use a Trainerize app
Nice.
for yeah, the workouts, which is really good for the workouts. I don't like it for the coaching side because the
Mm,
data is really like blurry, like it's not really good data. So we have all our clients like tracking in a spreadsheet, macros, weight every day, meditation. They do the sleep cycles. They're rating themselves 1 through 10. So it's really in depth. It's like you really got to look into. You're like you got to be ready for our program. It's not your typical online pro, and that's what like if I had to say something to like people looking to come into space or online coach, like don't just coach them from the app because you're doing your clients a disservice. Like really get in there and see what their everyday lives are. Cause it's like at some point the app's gonna quit working because the data is just not good. It's just like not as
mm,
good as you can get from like an actual spreadsheet. Does it cause more work for the client? Yeah, it does. But if they're serious about their goals, they'll want to do it because at some point, like the app's just not gonna work. It's like keto. It's just like anything, right? It's like keto. It's like you lose some weight at some point, it's gonna stop working. It's like now you have
mm.
no data to work with, so you have no like forward movement to go. Like you don't know where to go because it's just kind of been shot in the dark.
Yeah. Can you think of any other like we'll say objections because you handled the one of the in-person thing. Can you think of any other main objections that you'll have clients have of like whether to do it online or maybe not even online, but just like general objections your salespeople are seeing?
Yeah, for sure. So no, not really online, but like that's literally the only like time we get to online. But I think online's getting so much more popular that people are like kind of understanding like, oh, I've seen somebody get some really good results. Like just having your coach, like that's all it comes down to. As far as just objections, we get a lot of where we work with military veterans, which unfortunately a lot are broke. So we
Mm,
get like the financial objection a lot. But thanks to like you guys' program, we learned how to do like a really proper open wallet, which a lot
mm,
of sales reps do not know how to do. Like, so if you're like a sales rep listening to this, like learn how to do a freaking really good open wallet and you'll be able to like crush on it. Because it's like we get like I literally just got done doing a huddle with my sales team, and the lady had $24 in her account on her checking account, and she had $0 in her savings account, but she had like an 800 credit score, right? So we do
mm,
funding, but we wouldn't have been able to figure that out. It would have just been, I don't have any money, right? And then we'd have been like, well, what can like, but when you do the open wallet properly and you're doing the tie downs, like it's like magic. It just works like every time. As long as there's a want for them to do it, like we'll figure
mm,
out a way. So like, and we're like probably the biggest players in the space with military veterans fitness wise because it's like nobody wants to touch that because they know
mm.
like it's really hard to get these guys to pay you, right? The funding has helped a lot, but the open wallet has been like a game changer for us.
For people that don't know what, we don't have to go down the whole like question tree, but for people that might not know how would you describe like open wallet?
Yeah, so open wallet is basically just trying to figure out like to the T what they actually have, right? And it's done by like certain questions and getting them to open up to you, right? And this obviously you have to have really good discovery, you got to have really good rapport to be able to ask these kind of pretty invasive questions, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like yeah, figuring out what's in checking, what's in savings, what's a credit score, what do they have limit like do you have a credit card? Is it so it's like you really have to do a good job with everything else to build this trust. But once you can get that, it's like unless they literally just have like no money and like really bad credit score, like there's always a way to make the deal happen.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge part. I think that, mentioning on that is, a lot of salespeople don't do it, right? They just accept, well, I'm like a veteran and I don't have the money. But it's like, if you have a good discovery and you're coming from the place of, hey, like you told me this is your goals. You told me you've been in this shape for the last 5 years. You told me you have this medical issue, this one, that like when you build that rapport and you can present as like, hey, like I'm just trying to help you. Like the reason we need
Yeah,
to get into the finances and more specific is so that we can help you. So yeah,
yeah,
that's huge. And a big part that you said, which is cool, is like, and I think it's a lot of industries too, where you're in this niche where there is that misconception that like everyone's broke, but it's like
hmm
that's not always the case. It's like not everyone's broke. It's just like you're not actually digging to figure out like can you help that person. So
right,
that's
yeah.
that's super good. Um, any other like other finances, any other misconceptions, objections you feel like you get?
We get the with the spouse, we get the finance first, and the spouse is the second one. Took us a while to kind of get a hold of that one. I think we're kind of getting it figured out. So the deposit close has been really good for us on that one, where we can bring the orientation deposit close, basically bring the coach to the meeting, and they'll be able to talk to them, ask some
Yeah.
questions, kind of do a little mini orientation, and then it's been working decent.
Sweet. So yeah, so let's switch gears into, back to the story of like, okay, so you transition from online or sorry, offline into online. And then, so what was like the transition into, or I guess, how quick was your growth or not quick, or like, what was that process of just growth in general for the first couple of years?
First couple of years decent was decent. I was doing all the calls by myself.
And just for
But yeah, it was just
time frame wise, when did you like start the online stuff? Oh, COVID,
yeah.
COVID. So
So
2020.
yeah, 2020 is like when I was dipping my toes in. I sold my gym like right before 2021 and like went
Mm.
all in on like January 2021. So yeah, it's been like almost 4 years, like all in. and yeah, so at the beginning it was just, I was doing all the coaching, I was doing all the sales calls, all that stuff. And so I started hiring, VAs and coaches and stuff like that. And then I think maybe like a year, yeah, 2022 is when I first got like my first sales rep and just started building the sales team out from there. So right before I joined Closers IO, I think I was like at 100K months. And now we're at like 200K months. So I think it's only been like a year, maybe a year and a half with you guys. So, and yeah, it took longer than I thought. I was like, oh, I'm going to join these guys. And there's a lot of things that I needed to fix in not only my sales process, but just like my team, like how I was running my meetings. I wasn't doing meetings every single day, stuff like that. So,
Mm.
so yeah, you guys would like help me like grow tremendously. That I wouldn't have been able to do that without learning, like, because that's been like the biggest bottleneck is like building the sales team. So it took a lot of growth on my end too, but I also had to know what I was looking for as well. So having like Coach Ashley there to like just help me like go through all that, like that's what I really liked about Closers IO. As soon as I got in there, I was like, oh, I actually get my own coach, because there's a lot of other business coaching programs that's like group coaching. They just
Yeah.
like go here if you need this, go here if you do this. You don't have one person you can go to. And Ashley's been great about like, I know he's got a ton of clients, but it always seems like I'm the only client he's got.
Mm.
So that's been, yeah, huge, huge for me. And it's just like, dude, like literally like any question I have business, I'm like, hey, what's my LTV? How do I get that? And he's like, do this number and da da. So it's just like every little thing I can have, I just have that person to go to. So that's been super valuable for me.
Nice. What's just to kind of backtrack a little bit. Obviously we'll send this to Ashley too. He'll get some shout outs. But so backtracking to, when you hit your first 100K. So what was like the time frame that you went from 0 to 100K?
0 to 100K was probably 2 years. Yeah, I would say 2 years. And then, yeah, 100 to 200 was probably like another year and a half.
Yeah. How were you generating traffic before, like to hit that first 100? Was that through ads or organic?
Yeah, so we started out organic, and then we went to Instagram shout outs. That worked
Nice.
real well for a while. Yeah. But then we finally figured out Instagram DM ads, and that got us to where we're at now.
Nice. What the DM ads, was that through just like learning with what we're teaching, or was that before?
That was before, like I had tried a couple different um ads guys or whatever. I spent tons of money trying to figure out TikTok, Facebook, all that. And
Yeah.
then one of my other coaching, he's a fitness coach too. He runs his own ads, and he's like, "You want me to try to run your ads for you?" I was like, "Sure." And he just kind of threw it up, and it worked, and it's like been crushing ever
There
since.
you
But
go.
yeah, with you guys, I'm trying to figure out more Facebook lead ads and stuff like that. So I've been diving into that, trying to. So I want to learn it myself, so I don't have to rely on this guy like forever.
Yeah. So when you initially came into STA, because you've been in, you said for a little bit over a year, and then now and obviously in boardroom as well. What were like, if you can think back to when you first jumped in, like your initial experiences, what were some of like your like month one takeaways or things that you implemented quickly to like to start that growth, if you can remember?
Oh man, I think. Well, first of all, it was kind of funny. I had two sales reps, and I had one guy trying to manage the other guy because my other guy had been with me for a while. And like the,
Hmm.
the plan was like, hey, we're gonna just blow up this sales team, and I'm gonna have like five guys under you. Well, like every person we brought in wasn't cutting it, or they
Mm.
quit, they weren't making the money, that type of stuff. So initially the first thing was like me getting back in the sales manager position, right? Bringing that other guy back down, having those guys sell. So I think that was the first thing. Second thing was daily meetings. We weren't doing that. We were doing meetings like once or twice a week. So that was huge. Um, Probably trying to think what else. I think just the sales structure a little bit too, like the objection handles and kind of rewording the script a little bit. That helped a ton. Trying to think what else.
I mean, I'm
Yeah, I think
sure.
that's a
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure because those things too are like I've talked to a lot of, boardroom STA clients, and I think there's a lot of similarities in the sense of like having more structure within like the sales team stuff. Like, the big three is what Cole talks about it, right? Like EODs,
Mhm.
daily meetings. The last one is escaping me. But yeah, so a lot of it is just like taking what you already kind of know and then just like putting it in action with a little bit more structure. Um,
Yeah.
from that 100K to 200K, would you say there was any like major shift that you made to hit that point, or was it just implementing those, more of the fundamental stuff and being just focusing on that?
Um, I think it was just like focusing on like having a higher performing sales team. Getting our process dialed in where well, that was one other thing that we changed too that helped us get to where we're at now was my comp structure wasn't very good. Like the guys
Mm,
coming in, even when I could hire good guys, they're coming in and not making enough, right? So
mm,
we changed that whole entire thing to where somebody can come in and make 10K within the first 60 days, right? So
nice.
that was huge, yeah, because I wouldn't have figured that out by myself too. I'd been like, why are these guys, not making enough and that type of thing. So I had room to wiggle to be able to pay more to have higher performing reps come in. And I honestly, for me, it's been a learning experience too, because these guys have worked with other companies, and I'm like, oh,
Mm.
this is what you did in the other company. So I switched things up a little bit based off of what they told me, the bigger guys than me were doing. So that's been huge is just having like A players coming in, right, and dialing in our process to where, you know, between the comp structure and the actual process of like this is how you can get 30-40% close rates versus like we're kind of up and down before. So those have been huge to get us like up to that 200K mark.
So I want to break those two things down. So comp structure. So break that down. Like I mean, if you're open to talking about that, like what were you doing before and what did you switch it to make it more lucrative?
Yeah, 100%. So we were doing like I think we were doing like 10% off. I think it was like 10% on everything basically. It wasn't a lot. And what we did to switch it up was basically 15% on paid in fulls. So it might have been
Mm.
like 10 and 12 or whatever, but we just bumped it
Yeah.
up to 15% on paid in fulls, 12 and a half on any payment plans. And then instead of waiting to get paid out for the whole 12 and a half, as long as you collected 25% up front, you get paid out all of that right away.
Mm,
So that makes it a super sexy offer, right? And that's
yeah.
one thing I learned is like, just like you want a super sexy offer for your business, for your clients, like you want a super sexy
Mm,
offer for the sales reps coming in too, because they want to fucking make money, right? And it's like the caliber of how much you can pay them is the caliber of like actual quality of sales reps you'll come in that'll actually come look at your stuff, right?
yeah.
Um, and so on top of those two percentage hikes, we did $500 for every 5 deals you got done. So it kind of keeps that carrot in front of their face, like,
Mm,
cool, two more deals and I get my $500 bonus. And then just a few other bonuses like team bonuses. I do a cash leaderboard, like $500 if you're the cash leader for the month. So those have been huge, just driving competition within the team. And yeah, it's just a whole different ballgame when you get high performers around high performers because the high performers they don't want to be around like oh you're letting that go okay cool it's either like I'm gonna start doing that or I'm gonna leave because it's like not the kind of environment I want to be in every day.
hmm. Yeah, dude, that's huge. Like I think the other variable in there too is like the closers or like high ticket closers that are on these different offers. It was a different game in 2020 than now because like then yeah, the like closing was a thing, but now there's not only more closers, but there's more offers. And the ones that
Mm-hmm.
are high performers, I mean, they have the cream of the crop. They can go find whatever offer they want and sell a
Right.
50K, 100K offer and make great money. So, I mean, back to what you said
Yeah.
is like retaining the high performers by keeping a high performing culture is massive, but then also like giving them the opportunities of, more commission or different incentives, or like you said, like competitions and leaderboards. Cause I mean, when it comes to a high performer, is they're looking for those things, right? They want the recognition, they want the ability to make more, but also again, be, recognized for hitting those numbers. So the second piece of that was you said you were able to get them up to 30 to 40%. What were the things that you did to change and help that?
Just the closing percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just dialing in the process. So like, I think a lot of it came from leadership from me too, because for a while there, I was like, yeah, like nobody's closing on this deal. Part of it was just like the reps weren't like real high quality, but the
Mm,
other part was like, I was kind of letting people just do whatever. Like I had a script, but it's like, oh, you want to change the script? Go ahead. Like here, make your
mm,
own script, you know? And then I brought in this one guy that like, man, he just didn't look like anything special at all. Like I brought him in just to like have on the back burner basically, and he comes in and just starts crushing. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Like I started looking at his calls, just literally reading the script to a T,
mm.
right? And this is like, yeah, bro, it's fucking crazy. I was like, this guy's doing numbers I've never thought it could be done, and all he's doing is like just reading the script.
Yeah.
But that was also by the time I had gotten like the open wallet structure really dialed in and things like so it was like the accumulation of like seeing all these other reps fails and me kind of like fixing little things on the way. And then this guy just came in and just like read the script and he's like killing. I'm like, everybody's fucking reading the script now. Like,
Yep.
throw your other scripts away. Stop doing what you were doing before. And I'm still like working through that. Like, I have a guy that's been with me for I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years now. And he's so used to doing the other stuff. And I had to like sit him down. It's like, no, bro, you're going to read the script because this guy's killing you. He hasn't been on the offer that long. And I'm like, if you don't do this, like do it like you're not going to make it. So it's like, we had to
Mm,
like, it's harder to teach an old dog new tricks than it is as like get somebody else in. So I'm really trying to work with him. Like, hey, like you got to just follow this and just trust it because he's real skilled anyway. So it's like, I think you could maybe do more than the other guy because of your skill level, but you got to have the foundation, right? I think that's one thing we are missing the whole time. So to like answer your question, like it was just like the foundational thing that we were missing that got us to I mean we were doing like 10% closer. Like it was shitty some months to like 30 and 40 like consecutively now.
yeah. Yeah, that's it's funny you talk about that thing because it's just so a lot of the things that help businesses scale is just like going back to the basics. It's like as
Mm,
simple as like follow the script is
yeah,
just crazy. And
yeah,
I
you don't
think
want to believe it.
yeah,
So,
and social media and all these things definitely don't help when, let's say a salesperson is following, they're following Grant Cardone, they're following Cole's stuff, they're
yeah,
following Eli Wild,
right,
they're following, Jerry Miner, they're following all these different sales guys that have very conflicting ways of selling. And then,
right,
they'll drop like a sales tip or something and they're like, oh, I got to use that for my next call. But it brings them off the path of just following the
yeah,
script. So
yeah,
that's
exactly.
huge.
I think there's a lot to say with that too, because that was the one thing, like the guy that I was talking about, he's done all those courses and he's like, well, they're saying to do this
Yep.
and I said, yeah, you got to take that with a grain of salt because the thing is like, because he actually hired some other guy, I don't even know who it was, like a one-on-one coach, paid a lot of money for him. It's not anybody would know, like the name doesn't
Yeah.
ring a bell, but he's like, yeah, I just don't want to feel like I've wasted all that money and things like
Mm,
that. And it's like, I'm not saying this guy's not giving you good tips. Like he knows his stuff, right? But the problem is like it's got to be generalized because he hasn't been in this
mm,
specific offer. So there's like fitness offers, and then there's like a veteran fitness offer, right? So it's like niching down, and it's like the script almost has to be niched down too. The process has to be niched down too. So it's like this stuff over here is great, very like generalized, like take everything with a grain of salt. But if you can figure out within your offer what really works, right? And that just takes you actually being in the offer, like that's what you want to go with versus like, oh, this guy told me to do this and this guy told me because then you're just pulling from a bunch of different places
hmm
where it's like, well, we know exactly like how to do open wallet here. We know exactly how to do the spouse objection here. We know exactly what the pain points are of the avatar. We know exactly these things that these big guys like maybe they haven't been in the industry long enough or in the company to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you said, it's very much so that it just loses a lot of context. And there might be a really great objection handle or a way of doing things for like a solar salesperson or like door to door
Right.
or whatever, but it's
Right.
not gonna a lot of times translate to the pain points of a veteran that, wants to lose weight. So yeah, that's all spot
100%.
on. So for you, what is like your goals for the next, let's say 6 months, 6 months to a year? What's kind of like up next? And we can talk, revenue goals or just outside of that as well.
Yeah. So So branding, I really want to focus on branding. So like I said, I think we're the biggest player in the space for veteran fitness. So it's like I want to see I want to see us just be the face of veteran fitness. Like if you gotta have a buddy that served and it's like you need to get back in shape, like go to these guys.
Mm,
So like so personal branding along with just like company branding um in that aspect. As far as revenue, I mean, we're at 200 now, so I think 400K months are probably right around the corner. As long as, the marketing, everything's all dialed in. The sales team's kind of like, I finally have figured out, felt like forever. It took me like 2 whole years just to like feel like I got somewhere with the sales team. So I think we can just compound on top of that. So yeah, I think that's kind of where, yeah, 3, 4 million a year is pretty doable here with this offer.
love it, man. What's last couple of questions here. What would you say to somebody that might be on the fence of, jumping into STA? We're in a world where everyone's a business coach and everyone's,
Mhm.
saying like this is the best way or that way. Like, what would you say to that person and be like, hey, jump in with Closer.io. Like, this is going to be your best bet to scale.
Yeah, I think with Closer IOs, like the things that I really looked at when I was making the decision was who they have worked with in the past, right? Like they've worked with people that were like my business coach, right? Like so it's like if that guy went to him and I went to him, it's like these are probably the right guys, right? Just the names that they worked with, like um, you know, all the people they've worked with before. And then it's like you get into the program and it's like, oh, you're like the bottom of the totem pole. At least I was. So it's like, wow, I have all this room for growth now because I see all these other people doing it. So I think that was a big thing for me as well too, because I had joined a mastermind before that. It was like 30K, and it was like I was kind of the top dog, and I did not like that at all. I was just like, I'm like, there's
Mm,
like me and two other people making the most money here. I didn't like that. So like when I got into you guys, I was the bottom, and I was like, I really do like that because it just shows me like it just builds that belief in you, right? And the hands-on approach. So like that's the two things is like a like the people you guys work with, the successes that you have had, right? The people that are in the program that are like killing you, like you think you're doing a lot, like you're doing nothing compared to some of these people, right?
no.
And then the other thing is just like the hands-on approach, right? You're going to go into if you go to a different, business guru or something, they're just going to throw you in the pot, right? They might send you certain different places for specifics, right? But here you get your own coach. Like you can literally go to your coach with anything and they're just going to show you exactly what to do. So I really like that. It's what I do, right? It's what all the business gurus tell you to do. Hey, do one-on-one coaching, sell the accountability because they're gonna, and then they don't actually do it in their own business. So for me, that's kind of like a red flag. But Cole's program, you guys are very hands-on, and it's just been a great experience.
Love it. So yeah, I mean, thank you for the kind words. I think that you hit the nail on the head of, obviously there's a lot of people out there that talk the walk, that talk the talk, but it's like, are they actually doing, what they're saying they're doing,
Right.
So we try to stay on top of that as much as possible. So what I want you to do really quickly, just think of like one like tip or like golden nugget that you would give to someone that's listened all the way to the end here. I'll give you 30 seconds. I'll do an outro super quick, and then I'll come back to you. But so for those of you that are listening up to this point on YouTube or on Instagram or the clips or whatever on the podcast app, down below in the description of this video, and then also on the show notes on the podcast app, you'll see a link that's going to lead to a video that kind of just breaks down our methodology of like how we do things, the step process that we would walk you through if you're a business that's looking to scale from really zero to. I mean, we have clients doing multiple millions of dollars a month. So you can check out that video. That'll be down below if you want to check that out. Also, just full transparency, there is an option to talk with our team towards the end of that call, but the way that we handle our sales calls or advisor calls is very different from a lot of companies. Is we really treat it as an advisory call where we're going to give you the step-by-step process of what we would do if we were in your shoes, and then obviously we'll talk about what it would look like if we could come in and give that one-on-one support and coaching through the process. So if you want to check that out, link down in the description, show notes on the podcast app. But Matt, what you got for your parting tip?
One big parting tip as far as like, I guess I didn't fully understand the
Yeah,
question.
just like, if there's like a business owner that's listening to this and, they might be, maybe they're struggling currently or they can't figure out how to scale or just something that you would give them as a piece of advice.
Go get the help, man. Invest in yourself. I've gotten to where I'm at because every level that requires a new me, I go find that person that has that answer to you still got to do the work, but they'll tell you exactly what you need to do. So it just comes back to you. So it's like, don't be afraid to get the help. Don't be afraid of the money. Like the money's going to take care of itself. Like you keep investing in yourself, your skill sets go up, you make more money. So it's just like then you start playing around with hundreds of thousands of dollars like it's nothing. So it's kind of a crazy thing to experience. Especially like I went from broke to doing 200K months in my business. So it's like um I've never been afraid to just put it back in myself.
Sweet. Invest in yourself. And just to add on to that, invest in yourself, even like it doesn't even have to be us, right? Like it could be someone else completely different. Like invest in yourself no matter what. And it's always as long as big caveat, as long as you put the time into it and actually implement what people are telling you to do, obviously it's gonna help a lot more than not doing anything and just expecting it to come to you. So Matt, appreciate the time, taking the time and talking about your experience and obviously giving some tips along the way. For those of you who are listening, again, down below, link in the description. You can check out the link to the video, bring you over to chat with the team. And with that being said, thanks so much for listening in. If you have any questions, let us know. See you guys in the next one. Talk soon. Peace.